everybody. Welcome to Product Popcorn. I'm Kimberly, and I'm a product manager.
I'm Adam, and I'm a professional rodeo clown.
He is not. He is a front-end dev.
That's right. I'm a front-end developer.
Today we have Karleen with us, and she is a friend of our dear friend Jamie Love, who we lovingly refer to as J-Lo.
So you can say we're pretty close.
Yeah, we're basically best friends already.
Basically. We've known each other for 15 minutes, in fact. Karleen is a product manager as well. So today's episode might actually be relevant to product management, which is a great step up for this podcast.
If we can rope in a good solid popcorn discussion, that would be
oh my god, you're
perfect.
Right.
Think about actual popcorn.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing you're
Okay.
a popcorn expert, right?
Right, if there's cheese
Oh, if there's cheese
on the popcorn.
I'm so glad that she said that. That was a question. You're getting ahead of... I was going to ask her favorite flavor of popcorn.
Oh,
God damn it.
Dang
it's
it.
okay. It's
Okay.
okay.
Spoiler alert, it's cheese.
Okay. Great
cheese
answer.
popcorn.
You know a lot about a person from what kind of flavors of popcorn they like.
What does cheese say about me?
Just only good things.
Okay,
Only
great.
good things. I mean...
Yeah, because if it's like blood, you're like, that's a creepy person. Like, their favorite flavor of popcorn is blood.
I like that you keep
Maybe-
accidentally saying popcorn too.
Popcorn. Why can't I just leave the L out?
I don't know, but popcorn
Maybe 'cause-
is also kind of great. Yeah.
We're
Plop.
rebranding now to Product Plopcorn.
popcorn.
Product plot.
Visit us at productplopcorn.com.
You just gotta stick your tongue out when you say our name.
All right, so moving on. We're doing a new bit. We don't have a name for it yet, but we're thinking it's going to be called
The Acronomicon.
Acronomicon. So this came about today when I was sending out an email to a colleague who was complaining about Jira at work. So if you're a product manager, you probably use Jira at some point in your life. And engineers typically, well, lots of people, but specifically engineers love to complain about Jira. And I said, well, OOTB, it's a blank slate. It's our instance of Jira that has specific user experience issues. It's not Jira as a tool. And they were like, what's OOTB? So I'm here to define it for you. That is out of the box.
Oh, I was gonna say overly offensive. I don't have the TV yet. Sorry.
You are almost correct.
Dang
It's
it.
out of the box. So like a piece of software like Jira or Salesforce, like it's pretty much a blank slate, and then like out of the box, it has a certain functionality. Then you customize it to have like other specific custom functionalities that are specific to your business. So anyway, that's the term of the podcast, not of the day.
Of the day?
Not of the day. We don't do this every day.
Okay. Oh,
Anyway, all right. So moving on. Karleen, I didn't even ask. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
You are.
Yes.
You are in fact.
Karleen.
That's so close. Really.
Karleen.
Karleen. Yes.
I can't put an L in there. I was gonna put an L in there as a joke, like plopcorn, but
Like Clarleen.
Karleen. Karleen.
Clopcorn. God. All right, so Karleen. Okay, a few questions. We already know your favorite popcorn flavors, cheese.
Yes.
Mine's caramel corn, but it depends on sweet or savory. If I'm going savory, it's cheese for sure. Okay, let me ask you this: frozen yogurt or ice cream?
Oh, man. Well, that one's a tough for me because I'm actually not an ice cream or frozen yogurt fan, really.
Me neither. I'm so pumped
If I
about
have
this.
to pick, it's ice cream because what is froyo even?
I know, what is it?
But
Do you know?
I'm not a fan, really.
Okay.
Next episode of Product Plopcorn. What is froyo?
What is froyo, actually?
I would love to know. Okay, if you had to pick a baked good to eat right now, what would it be?
Brownies.
Yes!
Wow, you didn't even think about
God, you're like
that.
my soulmate.
That was
I don't need to
beautiful.
think very hard about food.
Yeah, this is why these are all food-related questions. It's very
smart.
important.
It's really smart.
I would, because I have a problem. I just like too many things, and so
Yeah.
it's like picking your favorite child, which most people do have a favorite child, even though if you don't admit it.
I
I
think
don't
they
have a-
probably do.
Favorite child?
Yeah.
I don't even know any children.
No, I mean, if you had a couple children, you would honestly have a favorite child.
Remember, we asked Damien yesterday who his favorite kid was because
He didn't
has
even
two
think
kids.
about it. He was just like, bam.
He came out, he was like, the first one. I was like, God. Oh, don't worry. Your daughter's too young to even understand this. So listen to it. It's fine. Anyway, all right. Last question. So our mutual friend, Jamie Love. What's the best thing about that guy?
Oh my gosh.
Nothing.
Jamie Love.
Ooh, sorry. that was me.
Everything.
Everything, right?
He's great.
He's hard to pin down. He's very popular.
He has a great laugh.
Does have a good laugh.
He laughs at my jokes a lot when sometimes other people don't, and it makes me feel good about myself.
Aw,
So maybe that's
what
what
a
I like
guy.
the most. It's
That's
kinda
a good
selfish,
thing.
but
I like his shoes and his t-shirts.
I thought you were gonna say his teeth.
His teeth
His
shirts.
shoes and his teeth. And I was immediately
Does
gonna be
have great
like, yeah,
teeth.
he's got great teeth.
He does have good teeth. All right, so today, talking to Karleen, so I had a lot of newbie product managers talk to me recently about getting into product management and how do you do that? Because I think rarely anybody's first job or first title, at least, is product manager. So I've had a lot of questions through Facebook and through my website, through email of like, how do I break into product management? What's the career path? And I don't think that there's a standard answer for that. I think people come through customer experience, they come through being a business analyst or UX developer, lots of different ways. So Jamie Love said, you should talk to my friend Karleen. She's been a product manager at a lot of different companies.
Clark.
So here we are. So tell us, what's your story? Like, how did you start out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right that there's no clear path, and I think mine was kind of the same. So I came out of college in the middle of the recession and was just really hungry for something to do. So I stumbled onto Craftsy, startup in the area, and just kind of said, give me what you got. I'll take anything. Which I do think is a great place to start, especially getting into product, if that's what you really know that you want to do. Like,
Because Craftsy was like real in startup phase at that point, right?
yeah, they were probably 40 people at the time.
Wow. Okay.
So small enough that I knew that I could transition elsewhere. I had no clue what that was going to be yet. So I came in and my goal was really just kick ass as a customer service representative and then as a manager. And then I think the key for me was just spending a lot of time with a lot of different people in the company.
So you started out as a customer service rep.
You know, Craftsy hired my favorite Starbucks barista named Heather.
Oh my gosh, I love Heather.
And she is a fantastic person.
Yep.
And so, like, they hired her, and I'm like, I love Craftsy now. And I'm also kind of don't, because they took my favorite Starbucks barista away from me. And so I was like, dang it, she can't serve me coffee and be,
But it's Starbucks.
endearing.
Standard everywhere.
Okay.
Can
Sorry,
I
Heather.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah?
I
Go
stole
ahead.
her from you.
You did!
Oh no, at your new job?
No, I stole her. Like, I hired her.
Oh, you recruited her to Craftsy.
Did,
Uh-oh.
yes.
Heather's a very nice person.
Vendetta.
I worked at Health Grades, which was on the fourth floor
yep.
of that same building. And
This is like Denver startup scene circa 2009 right here. Or 2000, what year was this? Like
12.
2000.
2013.
13.
Probably 13 or 14 by that
Okay.
point.
Yeah.
I think.
She started, because I was only at Health Grades for like a year. Because I'm like a nomad, because I'm a developer, and developers only stay at a place for like a year or
In
two.
Denver, 18 months is the average. So anyway, so you were hired as customer, do they call it customer experience or do they call it customer service?
I think we got to pick our own name, and I think
Ooh.
we branded ourselves as community relations
Whoa.
specialist or something fancy
I
like
like
that.
that.
But
Sounds good. How long did you do that for then? How long did you do community relations?
community relations. So I was a rep for probably about 6 months, and then a manager for a year and a half.
Awesome. And so did you ever do any product work at Craftsy, or did you move before you became a
I
product manager
did,
there?
yeah. So Craftsy was my first foray into product.
Nice.
So I knew, and I was pretty upfront with managers and mentors all the way along that I was going to make a move of some kind, and that customer service wasn't going to be my path forever. I think that's relatively common unless
Yeah.
you have a deep, deep passion for it. And so my first couple years there was really just about exploring that.
Do you feel like that? I would assume that customer service job gave you a lot of insight, like a really good insight that people who maybe came in as a product person didn't necessarily have.
Absolutely. And I think now that I've had subsequent roles after that, it's almost been hard not to have that experience to some degree.
Yeah.
Because there is definitely some of the guts of the business that you learn as a customer service rep or manager that you can't really get anywhere else.
Yeah.
Also, like, I think that one of the ways that product managers fall short sometimes is that they don't talk to customers enough and solicit customer feedback.
Yeah,
and I think that
absolutely.
comes naturally if you've had any sort of customer experience or community relations type experience. I think it's just more innate to do that. So,
Shutterstock has a really interesting thing where in New York, their main office headquarters, they have a room in which they've decorated to be like someone's living room. And you go in and like they have people come in, they like talk about like what they like about it. They'll go and like run through a workflow or something like that. And they went through so much effort to make them feel like they're like at home. I walked in and I was like, what is this office?
That's
It's
so
Interesting.
So I just thought it's not really relevant to anything. I just thought.
No, that's super interesting.
that is, I mean, I'd like to work in that living room.
I do
Sounds
too.
quite
Can
pleasant.
I have all my meetings here?
So do you have a technical background?
I don't.
Okay.
Nope. So I was actually an English major in college.
Yeah.
Which I did nothing with, clearly.
We've talked
but-
about English and philosophy majors. Very profitable.
Mm-hmm.
Very profitable degree.
I can tell
Yeah.
because you used the word foray.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, English major.
That's a good one.
You just pegged me. I think J-Lo was an English major, too.
He totally
Is that
was.
right?
Yeah.
I think
He
was.
uses the word foray all the time.
It's pretty much a dead giveaway. I mean, why else would you use that word?
Yeah, well, I'm going to use it now so I can sound smarter.
Yeah, it is a great
It's
word.
one thing I've learned during this podcast so far is foray. Do you think that it limits you in any way? Or has it limited you in any jobs that you've applied for or in any way, like your jobs past and present?
You know, it's interesting because I think if you had asked me that question 2 years ago, I would have said yes.
Really?
But I think what I've realized with time is that as you develop your critical thinking skills and as you just gain more exposure in general to technology, I'm at the point now where I don't feel like it's a limiting factor for me at all. I actually feel like in a lot of ways it's a benefit. So coming into my most recent role, for example, at ClosetBox, you know, I don't have the expertise of the inner workings of our products, but I also don't have predispositions to some of the limitations.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think it actually gives me the ability to say, like, what is the best user experience for our product?
Yeah.
And how can we get there? And it
It's-
gets us all to think outside the box in a lot of ways, I think.
Yeah.
So you have like kind of this outside perspective.
More of a
so-
user perspective.
Right,
If
yeah.
if your product is for non-technical users.
Right.
You know. So, very cool. So what can you say about like the culture at ClosetBox versus Craftsy and Revolver? Like, what did you like best about each?
Yeah, so I think every place that I've worked has its benefits and has its challenges. Craftsy had this really unique customer base, which I loved, and we really built our company culture kind of around that. So we had this passionate maker community that was super in tune with their craft,
Creative.
really creative, really good at what they did, but like almost no exposure to technology in some cases.
Right.
So I remember one of my first phone calls as a customer service rep was trying to explain to a woman what Google was. I think I actually also had to explain to her what copying and pasting was.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, this is actually quite challenging.
But she could knit, man. That woman could knit.
She could crochet
But
like
she
a
could.
mofo.
Yeah, she was a total badass. And so I think just having that really passionate and really engaged customer gives you this great jumping off point as a company culture.
Yeah.
Revelar was really similar in that they were a mission-focused company, and so they're really
What does
centered-
Revelar do?
Revelar makes an IoT wearable.
Oh.
So the goal of the wearable is it's a personal safety product.
Oh, okay.
And so the goal is really to, in situations where you maybe can't access your phone, to get a quick call for help.
Speaking of IoT and acronomicons,
Internet of Things. If you don't know this acronym, you really should.
That's a great call.
But yeah, good. Acronomicons. Man, they're everywhere. They're lurking.
everywhere.
Yeah. At Revolver, when you were a product manager there, were you responsible for the actual hardware as well as the accompanying software?
Actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so the product that I took on while I was there for just over a year. And a lot of that time was spent with their newest product that just came to market at the beginning of this year, which was the new version of the hardware and then an updated version of the app.
Very cool.
To support it. And so definitely a very different world being in the hardware and firmware world.
I've never done hardware. When we worked at Charter, now Time Warner perhaps, we dealt a lot with the hardware and mainly the limitations of the hardware, but we never, I didn't design it or,
We did have a 3D printer that was intended to print out remote prototypes.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
But we decided instead to use it to print Pokemon.
That sounds like a way more.
That's a true story.
We literally printed a lot of Pokemon.
Yeah, it was. Those were fun days. And now that you work at Closet Box, what does Closet Box do? Because I'm not sure.
Yeah, so Closet Box is a full service storage company, which is a newer model in that instead of you packing up all your stuff, taking it to public storage and dealing with that whole thing, you actually have a mover. So we party with movers, and they come to your house, pick up all the things that you want to put in storage, store it for you, and then can bring it back either on demand or just all at once whenever you want it.
Ooh.
That's so nice. I hate moving so much. I moved 9 times when I was in college.
Wow. Yeah, we have a lot of college students, actually, because it just makes sense to store your shit near campus for 3 months and then get it all back later.
That does make sense.
I should have just hired someone to store it and then burn that storage. Because I had way too much crap in college.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
So, if you could give advice to new product managers, people looking to get into product management, what skills would you say you're trying to beef up on right now or that are important? For me, I'm always trying to learn more. Right now, I'm trying to learn more about big data applications, and I'm always looking to learn more about machine learning stuff because it's kind of applicable to where we're going with the product that I work on. But what would you say, what are you learning about or working on or skills that you think are important right now?
Yeah, so I think over time, I sort of realized about my own personality that I was never going to be the technology person. I'm not really that interested in learning how to code. Be honest, I'm really not. I think I do need to do a lot more of that.
I'm not either, and I'm a front-end developer.
Well, you do great at faking it. So I think my sort of specialty area over time became more on the UX side of things and on the behavioral experience of the product. And so I'm always looking for more research methodology. In a startup, you're especially so strapped for those kinds of resources, and your UX people don't often have time to do it.
Yeah.
And so being able to work in tandem with a UX person on their skill set, I think is really important.
Definitely.
And then just in general, I'm just really nerdy about behavioral psychology, and so that's what I'm kind of focusing on developing rather than trying to get into coding when I really don't have an interest in it.
Yeah. That's a great answer because I work on more of a back-end platform type product, so it's always I'm looking for the super technical stuff, and I know coding basics, but I have no interest in trying to become a badass coder because that's just never going to happen at this point in my career.
Right.
I'm a product person, but it's really interesting that you say UX because there was a time where I was definitely beefing up those skills. Maybe I should revisit that.
Would you say that your job is a good use of stuff that you learned in psychology class? Because a lot of people like psychology, and I would have loved to major in psychology, but literally everyone told me not to do that.
It's the most popular undergrad degree, I think, in the country.
It's
Is
fun.
it really?
I think so, or
It's
one of the top 5.
One of the least useful, probably.
Yes.
Tactically.
But in this way, you can actually leverage things that you use in psychology, maybe?
Yeah, I only took probably one 100 level psychology class.
So almost a doctorate.
Yeah, basically I should probably help people with their mental illnesses. But
Do you want to tell her about your problems, Adam?
Oh, we don't have enough time for that.
let's do that later.
That's like a 5-hour podcast.
But yeah, I mean, I do think it that stuff helps, and just sort of knowing like what am I interested in and how can I develop that is super helpful as you get started in product in general.
Yeah. Do you see yourself sticking with product as like a long-term career, or do you have like different long-term career goals?
That's a great question. I think you sort of priming me on some of these questions was the first time in a while I've actually thought about it, because I've only been in product for almost 4 years now, and so there was so much like traction that I felt I wanted to gain, and I think I'm just getting to this point where I'm like, okay, I'm sort of there. Like I'm managing, and I am a solo product manager for a startup, so like what do I actually want to do next?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great question. I think product will carry me through several more years and be a super fulfilling career, but in terms of what happens beyond that, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
My boss literally asked me today what I wanted to do with my life, and I was like, I haven't thought about that.
I know what I'm doing
Wild,
tonight.
yeah. I think it's good to think about that. I mean, our generation, every year is a different thing for us, right? Like we were saying, and so the
Yeah.
possibilities are kind of endless.
What are there any like tools that you use day to day as a product manager that you think are super useful? Like I use Lucidchart all the time. It's like for creating flow charts and swim lane charts and just like all sorts of different charts, and I use it like all the time. And people are like, "Whoa, how did you make this incredible chart?" I'm like, it's not rocket science. It's just a SaaS tool, and it's super easy.
It's not rocket science, but I'm a genius.
But I made it myself. I hand drew it, and then I coded it into something.
Quite articulate.
I know. Thank you. Is there any tools that you would recommend using for somebody that's starting out?
Yeah, so I definitely echo Lucidchart. I think that one's really, really helpful in thinking through different flows and what you could be missing on different user paths. Trello is a big one for me. Like, I think roadmaps are really helpful, but in a startup, your roadmap becomes irrelevant in like 4 days.
That's true.
And so that's really my way of saying, like, how do I get a week ahead or 2 weeks ahead of the developers and stay really current on that? And I'm also one of those people that complains about Jira, mostly just because I don't want to take the time to figure out how to make our board better.
Yeah, we could have a whole podcast on Trello versus Jira.
We might have a whole podcast on Trello versus Jira.
For what it's worth, I think Jira is the right thing for the developers, but in terms of my sprint planning with my designer and product manager, like, it's Trello for me because it's so much easier for me to manage.
My dev team asks me every day if we can use Trello. Oh, they hate Jira. And, it's, again, out of the box, Jira is just like a blank slate. There are, like, really great implementations of Jira, and they're really horrible ones.
Right.
And I've mainly seen pretty bad ones. Yes. Good ones. But Trello is, for a startup, like, I wouldn't think you'd need anything more than Trello.
Right.
It's perfect for that kind of thing.
At Charter, we used both.
We
Because
did.
people complained enough.
really?
No, the design team used Trello, and then the dev teams used Jira because the design team just complained so much that they didn't want to use Jira, so they used Trello.
We used Trello for setting up for like retros and stuff like that, where we have columns
That's
on
true.
like
Yeah.
Okay.
blockers and things we did well or things
Right.
we could do better.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense for that too.
I also feel like Trello was kind of like off the grid. It wasn't the official company instance, so we could
it's
write.
true. So you could kind of like play around and do whatever you wanted.
Yeah, and we could write like the real problems we were having there, as opposed to what we wanted it to be officially in Jira, because you couldn't delete anything in Jira.
Yeah,
Do you remember?
there's record of every dumb thing I ever write in an acceptance criteria.
Oh my god, yeah, guys,
It's
be
like
careful.
Karleen crossed out this because she didn't get it first time.
You just click that work log tab and be like, wow, that's what happens.
Totally. The other thing I would say is a big tool for me is actually just stickies and 2x2s. So I Pivotal worked with us for a little while on a consulting gig at Revelar, which was just so awesome to have them with us for a little while. But they do these 2x2s where it's one axis is business value and the other is complexity.
Oh, cool.
And so you basically on the business value axis, you start with that first and you rank everything what's most valuable to us. And then you start to layer that out with complexity. And you end up with these quadrants.
That is a fantastic
that-
exercise.
It is fantastic for all of life. Like, I am now officially sold on the 2x2.
You and your husband, you just like in the kitchen, you're like, okay.
No, we actually did this. We did this with house projects because we were renovating our house. And so I was like, okay, we got to paint this room and we need to tile this room. And like, what's the most value to us as a couple?
And how complex is it?
And how complex is it? How much does it cost?
Wow.
That's beautiful.
Doing
That
this
I
with
think
grocery shopping.
is more useful to me than like a lot of the things that I would do day to day in like a software tool, to be completely honest.
Do you feel like sometimes, this is a leading question because I want you to agree with me, but do you feel like sometimes people are trying, like I read a lot of product management blogs and I feel like sometimes they're trying to get so technical and have this super fancy methodology, but most of the time what works best is something like this 2x2 that's pretty simple and you only need rudimentary tools to get it done and just kind of bring that like high level vision with a clear visual that's pretty simple.
I would agree with that. And I would say too, especially working on consumer facing products that have very little functionality to begin with, it's actually not rocket science. Like, I'm pretty sure that in some cases, like, my mom could come up with the same roadmap that I would come up with because they're kind of obvious answers, you know? It's like, what do people want? And I think to some extent, culturally, we can all sort of figure that out. And that's why I think behavioral psychology is a really interesting stream of thought to think through, but also why, like, sometimes the simplest answer is the best answer.
True.
Yeah, it is. People get real complicated. I had an engineering team recently ask me if we could do our sprint board with sticky notes, which I work on an enterprise level product, and I actually had like the Scrum Master told me no. But like that's how
I've
like
done
simple people like simple solutions.
I've done that,
true.
and there's something that you get, just like how you have books versus Kindle and stuff like that. There's something with that tactile feedback.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can-
It like makes it a reality, and you're
Tangible.
like, "Wow, we've gotten this much done! Like, look how many stickies I've actually held in my hand."
It is satisfying.
And then you can actually burn them, you know, at the end. Of
You can. You definitely can. That, and I think
Retrospective.
with stakeholders too, it's especially useful because when you're all in the same room and you're talking about priority, everybody wants to prioritize their own stuff, right?
Yeah.
But when they have to literally move their sticky under someone else's, I think that's a different experience altogether than just saying like, fine, marketing can get their way this time.
That's a really good point. Like, it is a different experience to make a concession writing out an email versus like physically moving something and seeing it visually. I like that. I'm using this. I'm
And then-
learning stuff. I'm going to use this.
then they
2
look
by
around
2.
the room, and everyone's just crossed their arms and shaking their head. And just-
Yep, pretty much.
All right. So, any crazy product stories that you have from any of your past jobs? Don't have to say the company if you don't want to. Working with a developer, or designer, or a customer.
We highly recommend giving specific names.
Jamie Love.
Yeah, there was this one guy. No, you know, I think I'm pretty fortunate, and a lot of my experiences have been really good. Like, I've worked with a lot of strong teams. I think Craftsy has really unique customers, and sometimes they're just super nutty, and you just really, like, you can't anticipate how sometimes what that market's going to be so passionate about and react to. But I think in general, it's been pretty calm for me.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
If there's no immediate story that comes to mind, that's
There's not.
That's a good
It
thing.
makes me feel
Do you
like
need
I'm
to-
missing out, though.
Do you need to fill in that story, Kim?
no, I don't. Nope.
You've repressed those memories. You don't
I've
bring those
buried
painful
them deep
memories.
down.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Let's keep the cork on that bottle.
We are keeping the cork on today. Do you have any last advice for young people looking to break into product management?
Yeah, I would say find a mentor.
Yeah.
I think the awesome thing about a lot of startup communities is that people don't often say no to you, is what I found when you want to have coffee with a random person that maybe you even just see on LinkedIn. Like, people are generally really helpful because they've been helped themselves. And so I would say if you really want to break into product, it's never too soon to start reading, but I think finding a mentor is the next way to go because it gets you started networking and then gets you started thinking about not just what are the things that I need to learn, but what are the soft skills that I'm going to have to figure out, because it can be a hard job. And I think having someone there is really important.
Yeah. It's good advice. If we have any Denver area listeners or Colorado in general, Built in Colorado is a great resource. And I mean, my personal recommendation is look for a startup, get into customer experience, get into business analyst role, something that you can kind of segue easily. But customer experience is just like, that is such a great, I've talked to a lot of product managers that's how they kind of made their little segue to product was through customer experience. I think it's a great basis. Very similar to your story.
Yep.
It's great. Adam, do you have any final words today?
No final words. Final word. Foray.
Excellent. We'll leave that there. You're just like an English major.
Thank you.
You could have fooled me. All right. Well, thank you, Karleen, for being on the podcast. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah,
so
thanks
fun.
you guys for having me.
Okay, thanks everybody for listening. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.